Welcome to Deep Thought. Admit when you make mistakes. You know something? How many of us have gone through life and we just made a bad move? We made a bad move, a blatant mistake and everything. And, some people will say, they be like, oh, damn, my bad, I made a mistake. And, not just to themselves, but to other people. They'll say, you know what? I was wrong on that one. My apologies. I actually said that on a recent comment on my other channel. Somebody had said something to me, and I thought they were a troll. And every now and then I go at a troll. And I said something to him kind of taunting. And then when he answered, I was like, oh, no, this dude wasn't coming at me that way. And my first response to him was like, my apologies. I thought you were doing this or that. I thought you were coming at me a certain way. And then, just had a regular, chat with him, So I was quick to admit it. But then you get some people, they do stuff. They make a mistake. They can see it's a mistake, but they don't admit to it. In fact, they keep going because every single action we take leads to something else. Every single action we take, every choice we make. Remember, I've done some podcasts, right? I've done some podcasts talking about like how the choices we make can lead to whole realities. Well, a mistake is a choice. Yeah, it was an involuntary choice, but it's still a choice. And especially how we respond to that mistake. Now, okay, in cases where we can admit we made a mistake, that choice is good. It leads to positive outcomes. But what about when we don't admit to the mistake? What if we don't say, you know what, I made a mistake? Or worse, we know we made a mistake, but we try to forget about it. It's like, oh, man, my bad. I'll keep it quiet. I won't say anything. And you're just like, wow, this doesn't work, This doesn't work. And all of a sudden, it compounds the mistake. It compounds the problem because you never admitted that, you were wrong at first. Now, I've seen this happen with people. One of the biggest ways I see this happen with men and women is when they break up from the wrong person. They break up from an otherwise good person. This is very common. And we've all seen it. And shit, let's be real. Some of us have done it ourselves. I know I have. I don't have a problem saying, you know what? I should have did better with that particular young lady. I don't have a problem admitting that, And there's been even some young ladies I apologize to for my stupidity. And I'm quick to do it. Some could tell you, you know what, Ron came at me one way, but he came back and said he was sorry, everything. And, there's nothing wrong with that because, some people will say, well, don't ever say it or admit that. It was like, no, you have control over it. You have control. You still have control over it. You're just saying, hey, you human, whatever. Now, the other person might have some type of judgment. Well, that's on them. They're going to have a judgment anyway. So don't worry about it like that. So, admit when you made that mistake to yourself. Because trust me, those choices. But getting back to the relationship thing, what I've seen, somebody have a good person. And I've used this example, on different platforms. You might be a woman. She got a good guy. She cheat on him or even leave him for some other guy. And the other guy turned out to be terrible. Just an illusion or something like that. And then all of a sudden, they lose the first guy. And then they just but they don't want to admit that they just made a mistake or even tell that guy or even tell everybody else. They'll come up with well, this person was this and that when they really just made a mistake. But then their lives will get worse. And I've seen that with some women. They just get totally stressed out. Everything. And if you can take one look at them and say, everything is going downhill for you. Everything. And And guys too. There's some guys, you know what? The guys had that perfect woman. The woman, like, adored him, submitted to him, believed in him, was willing to sacrifice, was willing to play a secondary role, But then, he get with that hot woman, that hot home buster. That woman who, wouldn't mess with him if he was single. She wanted to bust up that happy home. He get with her and stuff, and, he break the nice woman's heart, and, she's probably like, I gotta go. And then the guy, he realized he messed up, and then stuff just go downhill for him. I've seen it in both times. And it's bigger than relationships. How many of us have made a mistake in some decision we made on a job, and it caused some harm or something like that? How many of us have done that? Plenty of us. You gotta just acknowledge that you made a mistake. Like in a relationship thing, people need to go back to their first person and say, you know what, I made a mistake. It don't mean you're gonna get back with that person. You probably won't. The person might be like, what the hell with you and all of that. That's cool. Just tell them. It's like, you know what, I did this and that. I apologize. Now somebody will say, well, they didn't get back with that person. How was that helpful? No, but then when they go in the future and they meet somebody else, they know not to make that same mistake again. See, that's another thing with admitting that you made a mistake. You learn from it. It's a learning experience. It ain't even a mistake. Sometimes I don't even call it mistakes. I say, okay, I learned from it. I won't do this again. Like I said, I've been some women interested in me or I dealt with, and I made a mistake. I messed up. I did some jacked up stuff. And like I said, I just apologize to them or, say, that's on me. But I ain't try to get back with them necessarily, unless they showed an interest, unless they were the ones showing the interest. But I would know the next time, every single time I've done something, the next woman I got with, she was actually the beneficiary because it was a good thing. Now, look at what I was saying about it before. Sometimes people make that mistake, don't admit it, make a bad move. They just keep going downhill. Because every mistake, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like when you're learning to walk. Think about when you learn to walk. I remember when my youngest son learned to walk. He was interesting because he never really crawled. He actually went from just sitting still to walking. Now, when he was walking, that dude was falling. He'd stand up, fall. But in the fall, he learned. See, understand something. The mistake ain't just a mistake, but it's a learning experience. All of us are going to have it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with admitting, you know what, this ain't the right thing. I've gone through that. I go through that now. There are thoughts I've had on stuff, and not nothing major. If it's something major, y'all hear about it, but it might be minor. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I got to look at this differently. First I had to acknowledge, I wasn't looking at that properly, or I didn't see the whole picture, or I learned something. Then it's like, oh, okay. And it's empowering because then it's like, okay, I can start talking about this, or I can start looking at it this way or behaving this way. I don't have to make that same mistake, that same move. Like one of the things I had to learn was being very careful who I would do any business with. Because at first, somebody say, hey, let's do this. And, Rom was like, oh, I'll take them at their word. They know what they're talking about. They didn't. Now, I'll be looking now. I'll be exploring. I'll be like, yeah, I'll get back to you. I'm serious. I'll be like, I'll get back to you. Let me see what's up, what you got going on. And then it's like, okay, So, and don't let that pride hurt you. Don't let that pride hurt you. Just really learn from what you got to do, okay? Really learn from what you got to do. So, admit when you make the mistakes, learn the lesson, and then apply the lesson. It's a powerful thing. It really is. So that's all I have for today. I want everyone to keep rising and transforming. Peace.